This is a digital SAT math question. It says the graph of line Q is perpendicular. Hold on, I'm trying to get my pen here. Is perpendicular to the line 2x minus 4y equals 11 and contains a 0.16. So line Q contains the 0.16 and it's perpendicular to this other line. Well, what do I know about perpendicular lines? Perpendicular lines, if the slope of the first line is m1, then the slope, then that's equal to -1 over the slope of the second line. So in other words, if I know the slope of the first line, and I say this second line, which is line Q, is perpendicular to it, I flip the fraction, and then I multiply by -1. So let's say this line, 2x minus 4y equals 11. I'll figure out the slope in a minute. What if the slope is 2? I'll flip it, so that's like 2 over 1. I'll turn it into 1/2, and then I'll multiply it by -1. So if one line has a slope of 2, the line perpendicular to it has a slope of -1/2. All right, how do I figure out the slope of this first line? Well, when x and y are on the same side, very easy. I take whatever's in front of x, I divide it by whatever's in front of y, -4, and then I multiply that by -1. Write that down. When x and y, when you have a linear equation, x and y are on the same side, take whatever's in front of x, divide it by what's in front of y, and then multiply it by -1. So 2 over -4 is -1/2 times -1 equals 1/2. The slope of line Q is 1/2. So now here's line Q. The slope is 1/2. And I know a point is 1/6. So I can put it into the point slope form. Y minus the value of my point, 6, y minus y1 equals m, 1/2. And of course, I'm going to need more room, as always, times x minus the x of my point, which is 1. So that's the equation of line Q. This is line Q. How do I get the equation of line P? Well, I notice I have all kinds of fractions in there. I'm not going to try to do that by hand. I'm going to put this into Desmos. So first, let me put my line Q. Y minus 6 equals 1/2 x minus 1. Beautiful. That's that line. Now, how am I going to get this other line when it just gives me 2 points? To find the slope, I would have to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But look at these fractions. I'd have like 5 1/3 minus 7 1/4. Too many fractions. And then I could take that slope in one of the points and put it into point slope form. Like this one, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. X and y are just x and y. x1, y1 are one of my points. Well, look at, this would be a nightmare with all these fractions. So I'm just going to let Desmos do that work. I'm going to make a table, and I'll give it my x1. This is x1, y1. Every point is x, y. So 2 1/4, which is 1/4 is 0.25. 7 1/4. And then my second point is 1/3. I'm just going to write that as a fraction because it's 0.33333 forever, and I would never get it exact. I have to put in infinite number of 3's. And 5 1/3. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16. To write that as an improper fraction, 16/3. And now I can press this button with the dots in a line, add regression, linear regression. That is the second line. If you want, you can change the color. I'm going to change it to purple so I can really see. And then I see where they intersect, 1, 6. So the intersection, well, intersection is the point that that other line contains, 1, 6. I paused a second because I said, wait a minute, that's 1, 6. That's the point they gave us for line P. So the value of A minus B, if it's AB, this is 1, 6. If it's AB, it's 1 minus 6 equals -5. So -5 is the answer to this one.